Hey, we're David and Paula. Like many people, we've been working hard for many years and we're too young to retire, but we've decided to take a gap year from work. We've bought a new van and we're doing a lap right around Australia. This episode we head to the rugged coast of the Great Australian Bight and start our path across the Nullarbor Plain. This is just absolutely insane. Beautiful morning. So we're back on the road again. We're heading along the air highway towards Ceduna and then the Nullarbor Plain. So we put in a fair bit of driving yesterday down from the Flinders Ranges, Port Augusta, and we decided to press across. And we're going to stop at one of the free camp sort of spots on the air highway. And to be honest, we got in to one of them that sort of looked okay, that had some good ratings on wiki camps, and we didn't think that highly of them, so we pushed into the town of Kimba. Again, one of these towns have done a great job of trying to get people to stop. Rural town, but they've set up an RV friendly location and stopover at their recreation facilities, and they've done a really good job. There's showers, pay showers, you know, a couple of, I think it was $1 for a couple of minutes of hot water. There's loos and those sorts of things if you need them, if you're not self-contained.
There's a camp kitchen?
There's camp kitchen, for those that need it, dump. But I've got to say, gee, we got in there sort of late in the afternoon, 5 o'clock, and the place was packed. So they've got a couple of areas which are sort of on gravel, sort of hard standing RV sort of stopover, and they're nearer to the facilities. And they were just cheek to jowl. It was probably even more packed than a caravan park in there. I didn't mind arrange people spilling over into areas further around the sporting fields and in and around some trees and those sorts of things, which is where we ended up. But even so, still a lot of caravans out near us, so it would have been well over 100 caravans. It actually looked like a camping and caravan show.
Yeah, it did.
But look, it was comfortable, it was safe, and
relatively quiet.
I was quiet. So I've got to say, if you're looking for a place to camp up, you could do a lot worse than Kimba. So the community have done a good job there. Donation, so it's a donation. So yes, it is a free camp, but they do actually ask for a donation. I think for facilities like that, yeah, it is worth you throwing $10 or something in the tin for them, so that they can keep it up and keep encouraging people in there. But obviously the secret is out of Kimba because a lot of people parked up. I also think some of this, there's a lot of caravans on the roads at that time of the year, but with the big floods that were up north and the Victoria Highway closed, the Fitzroy Crossing sort of being closed up north, people who want to get across to the west by a sealed road, this is it. You know, the air highway and the Nullarbor Plain is it until they get that reopened at the moment. So they're doing a land bridge at Fitzroy Crossing, we understand. Someone told us the other day that got washed away again. So check that out. Look, we're not going to need any of that area for a long time to come yet. Anyway, that's the town of Kimba, and you can sort of fuel up. There's a few shops, IGA, groceries, hardware, a couple of other things in there as well. So not a bad stopover at all. But get in early if you want one of the better spots in what overall is a good facility for people to stop over. But if you don't want to be near other people, find one of the other free camps along the air highway. Anyway, we're going to put in a day's driving and we'll decide when we get to Ceduna where we're going to pull up for a couple of days good time. Alright, see you then. Fascinating modern history for Australia in this area. First mapped by the Dutch in the early 1600s. Matthew Flinders, or the English, and Frenchman Nicolas Baudin crossed over in the race in the 1800s to be the first to map all of Australia, and all that was happening in this region. And keep in mind that at this time the English and the French were at war again. It was blowing a gale, so we didn't stay long. If you can see it on the GoPro, we'll keep trying to get it, but we've got rainstorms either side of us. We're driving towards Penong, sort of near the head of the Great Australian Bight, and we'll stop there for some breakfast. We had a good overnight camp, protected from the wind. I don't know if you can sort of see the rainstorms. So down on the Eyre Peninsula, they had storm warnings last night, and obviously some of them are up here. You might be able to sort of see them out the front of the car just a little bit. But the other thing that we're battling this morning is we had heavy winds yesterday, and it was really blustery at Ceduna, which is why we pulled up 10 kilometres sort of out and sort of just hunkered ourselves up in the bush to get a bit of protection, which was fine. It was a good spot to stop. But this morning it hasn't abated, and it's just at the wrong spot really in terms of the direction we're heading in the road. Sometimes it's almost headwind, really strong headwind, almost watching the fuel gauge drop as we're driving, and then other times as the road sort of turns and starts to go sort of northwest, it's almost 90 degrees to us, a big blustery things, and even though the car and the van are very stable, they're good. It's a good combination. At the end of the day, caravans are big sails when the wind's coming directly across them. So we'll be glad to stop at Penong. We're heading to Fowler's Bay today and Scott's Beach, and I'm a bit worried that it's going to be really blustery down there. We'll see if we get any protection, but otherwise we'll just move on. We've sort of booked something in a national park, but that's not worth it if we're not going to enjoy it. But anyway, we'll see how it goes. Blowy and blustery morning, and I hope the wind isn't causing too much problems with the sound here. Probably is, but yeah, we were being blown around a fair bit. The car and the van are very stable, so it's a generally very good towing combination. But when you've got big blustery southwesterly winds coming across the plains here, and you're coming across it, it's going to blow you around. So we stopped at Penong. We thought we'd stop there for a cup of coffee. I didn't actually arc up the coffee machine in the van this morning, and I thought just down the road to Penong, and their coffee machine was broken. Go figure. And of course we're travelling on a public holiday, which means that the local cafe was closed. But we stopped in anyway. So a couple of novel things here at Penong. They've got part of this sort of sequence of Nullarbor links, where you can sort of play some pretty rough holes on a course across the Nullarbor at various locations. So I'll show you some of that footage. And then they've got the Windmill Museum. That's quite fascinating. So big collection of windmills. I think it's the biggest collection sort of anywhere, probably for good reason. And yeah, well worth having a look, particularly in these dry areas that have needed to get their water from artesian bores. And you know, you can sort of see this is actually what people relied on. But yeah, interesting collection, good reason to stop. We'll press on. Would have been an isolated place where it was first set up, wouldn't it? Very historic, very isolated, very windy today. The wind settled down a little bit the next day, so after a bit of a sleep in, we jumped in the car and decided to hit some of the four-wheel drive tracks to the west of the camp area. Well, this is pretty. So I wonder where the seal colonies are. There's supposed to be some seal colonies around. So what's this called? A Mexican hat. So Paula thinks that looks like a sombrero, and maybe somebody else does too. Yeah, so we thought we'd come for a drive out. Bit of a short drive. Apparently a lot of people like four-wheel driving out here. We're not huge into four-wheel driving, but the car's more than capable of doing the tracks around here. So we bear down and come for a bit of a drive to sort of have a look at this area, and it is quite pretty. This is not what you'd associate the Nullarbor Plain with, is it? No.
This is just the start of it.
Yeah, this is really only the start. Ceduna to I think it's named the other place. So this is Cape Nuits. So this is where a Dutchman, I think it was in the 1620s, was the first European to set eyes on this coast, or certainly the first that recorded it. And then it wasn't mapped properly until Flinders mapped it in 1802 in the Investigator. And you might know the story of Flinders and Trim the cat, and the Flinders story is just a wonderful and tragic story of a guy who probably is the person who helped name the continent Australia. He's mapped Terra Australis, and he familiarly named it Australia. Very, very remote location. Of course, Indigenous Australians have been here for many tens of thousands of years before that. But it's a pretty rugged part of the coast. Anyway, I'm going to go back and find Paula.
No, that's the driver.
are some bores. It's not Nullarbor. It's sort of Nullarbor. No?
You're having fun. David's entertaining himself.
Holy doodly, he was driving on the other side of the road.
I know, but he was waving.
Waving. Yeah, we knew that because he was close enough to see him. So where were we last night? We were at Scotch Beach at Fowler's Bay. Yeah, so we thought we'd press through to the Nullarbor Roadhouse and then decide where to from there, but most likely we'll pull up at the Bunda Cliffs, and if the weather's okay we might spend a couple of nights at the Bunda Cliffs. There is forecasts of very heavy blustery westerly winds again in a couple of days' time, so we'll have to sort of think about that. We don't want to be on Bunda Cliffs when we're being blown around, and preferably we're sort of not pushing the van in through it too much either, so we'll just keep an eye on all that. So anyway, next stop, Nullarbor Roadhouse. We'd be pretty desperate here, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Need a bite.
Yep. Storeroom, I suppose.
This is where you got your car flipped, right? Gotta be happy with this view, Paula, right? How good?
Thumbs up.
Paula picked this one. She said, but can we go closer? Can we go closer?
I did. You did that.
Next episode, we complete the Nullarbor crossing and start to explore Western Australia.
We passed.
When she pulled out that white rubber glove, I got a little bit worried. This is Pink Lake, and it's not pink. And they even signposted Pink Lake.
Yeah. And then they tell you why it's
there's a sign why it's not pink. The water's toasty. Almost as far as I did.
Oh, I don't think so.
Again, thanks for joining us. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and remember, 100% of our YouTube advertising revenue goes to charity.